Previously on the Salawogs, why it's great gut reaction.
I had the pleasure of watching Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in theaters. Saw that the other day with my friend and her son. And Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which was a kids movie and very much made for kids. I mean, the audience was clearly in the mind of the filmmakers because the movie moves very fast. It doesn't take much time with the characters. It actually has very little character at all for anybody. But it's made at such a brisk pace that this modern era of kid who has a shorter attention span than ever can watch it. And granted, my friend's son enjoyed it. But actually, I did enjoy it myself. It was made well enough. You know, they had their little character arcs, and more than anything, I think the payoffs are what worked story-wise for that movie. I thought there's some setups that are so on the nose and obvious, and you've seen them before, but the payoffs of those setups were very nicely done. I actually have not seen Sonic 1 or 2. Actually, I never even played the game as a kid. I didn't have a Sega. But, you know, going into Sonic the Hedgehog 3, you know, they make it so you can just walk into the movie. So for those of you who haven't seen 1 or 2 and you're thinking about taking your kids or just to see it yourself because you want to have a little good time because Keanu Reeves is playing Shadow. Great voice work from Keanu, for sure. The return of Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. Let me say, for the grown-ups in the room, Jim Carrey was the reason to be there. I mean, without question, Keanu Reeves being cast was a highlight that helped me get there too. But it's like, you know, Keanu's going to be good. But it's like I haven't actually seen a Jim Carrey movie or show in a while. I know he's done some stuff. I feel bad as much as I'm a fan of him. But Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik and Grandpa Dr. Robotnik, spoiler alert, he plays two Dr. Robotniks. One is the grandfather of his current character, and they actually achieve the look of the cartoon. I don't know how he looks in the game, but they achieve the look of the cartoon in this one. He's entertaining as hell. Like, from every single second of Jim Carrey in this movie is worth watching. And same with Keanu Reeves. I think there's no doubt that the time is taken with their performances and with their scenes and their gags, where it's almost as if we're not really watching a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. That's just kind of there as a structure for us to enjoy listening to Keanu's voice with very good animation on Shadow. And really seeing Shadow have this character arc across the movie that's, at first, it's so by the numbers I don't even care. I'm just happy to hear Keanu's voice. And then, again, like I said, the payoff when we get to the finale of the movie, I was really happy with everything that had come to be. And again, with the double Dr. Robotniks, that was part of a selling point for me too, honestly. It's a nice throwback when actors playing multiple characters and interacting with themselves. It's a really fun throwback doing that kind of stuff. So to get double Jim Carrey, but okay, worth the price of admission. Worth the price of admission is, spoiler alert, because I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't pay attention to the trailer, if it was in the trailer or not. There is a Dr. Robotnik dance in this movie where they have to do this Mission Impossible entrapment style sneaking into a vault or a safe. But for whatever reason, it becomes a ridiculous dance. And there's no doubt the entire theater was laughing and having a great time. That was everyone's highlight for the movie, at least as far as I could tell. It was such a blast watching Jim Carrey play with himself. So, yes, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, really for kids, made for its audience. But for the adult viewer, the ending, I think, is satisfying. And it's and again, everything with Jim Carrey, worth the price of admission. And even as by the numbers as Shadow's setup is, the payoff, which is also by the numbers, is still done well. It's still, I felt something. I was like, oh, no way. And it's a testament to Keanu's power with his voice that now it's literally just his voice. I'm not used to hearing just his voice as anything. It's usually him killing someone over a dog, right? Nowadays. But, it's a testament to his power as an actor that I've always thought he was a great actor. And that's what I was amazed with, that when we get to the end of this movie and there's the payoffs to Shadow's character having an arc and you reach the end, I was really touched by, you just hear it in his voice when Shadow has a revelation, because he's a villain for the majority of the movie. I'm sorry, it's a kid's movie, spoiler alert. Actually, just spoilers. Spoilers here for Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a yes. Check it out if you're into that character and you enjoyed the first two. It's probably just more of the first two. I haven't seen the first two. But, yeah, just spoilers from here on out. There's this whole thread with the Shadow character that starts on very early on in the movie, where there's a flashback story. Shadow has been a captive experiment from the government, and in his many years of being a lab rat for the government, he befriends the daughter of the lead scientist of the situation, and they're such deep friends. It's almost romantic, but it's a really beautiful little friendship. And it ends up that the character, the daughter, ends up dying, and this is what motivates Shadow to be angry. But there's a little thing that we've seen in movies before, where the characters connect by looking at the stars. There's this very touching moment where, we get the completed flashback, because the flashback is spread out across the movie, where old Dr. Robotnik was also a friend of that same girl, and he has the same motivation to destroy the world. But in this final flashback, it's in the final battle, and after the final battle, where Shadow has given a nearly fatal blow to James Marsden. What's beautiful is when Shadow gives that fatal blow to James Marsden, and you're seeing Sonic on the floor sobbing over James Marsden, you do see the look of, oh crap, on Shadow's face, like that little sprinkle of humanity. They're relating, because he relates to seeing his own dear friend dead or dying on the floor, thus sending Sonic into a revenge spiral. After their final battle, when Sonic decides not to kill Shadow, what I thought was beautiful is when we get to the ending after the final flashback, and Shadow's frustrated that he doesn't get killed by Sonic over the same deal. They're fighting in space, so they're on the moon, and they look at the stars again, and it's a line that, as a fan of Watchmen, I've always loved Dr. Manhattan's montage, where he talks about the stars and how all we see of them is their old photographs. It's my favorite section, or my favorite chapter of the Watchmen graphic novel from Alan Moore. So I've always been a fan of that, but they bring that up as part of Shadow's arc, where he says, where when he's talking to his friend who dies, she tells him how we're seeing the light of stars, but they may have died many years ago, so we're really just seeing their light now. In this final confrontation, and when he's asking Sonic, why wouldn't you kill me? And Sonic's like, well, because that's not what my friend would have wanted. He wouldn't have wanted me to do that. And then that's when it occurs to Shadow, oh, and he's looking at the stars. So the star died, but the light still shines. And that, both the performance, the animated performance, and the line really hit me. And death has definitely been a part of my life in the last year or so. Quite a few people, dear friends dying. So it kind of hit in that way too. But I just thought that was such a nice, touching bit. Intermixed with all of the great Jim Carrey fighting himself sequences. Everything with Jim Carrey was so good. It's such a treasure seeing Jim Carrey being a goofball. It's like nobody does it better. But I truly hope that, just like Eddie Murphy coming back, like I hope he comes back big, because we are all craving something good and fun. I think Sonic the Hedgehog managed to do that. So hats off to Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I think the ending was the best part of that movie, and also Jim Carrey, the best part of the movie. The reason to see the movie is Jim Carrey versus Jim Carrey. Their whole arc and story is hilarious. And since we're on spoilers, the whole montage of them going on roller coasters and all that stuff, like, wow. Just wow. Again, we've seen it before, but because we haven't seen it with Jim Carrey and himself as his own grandpa, it has a special flavor that makes it wonderful. So thank you, Jim Carrey. Thank you, Keanu. Thanks the whole team. That was a fun ride.